What's up, everyone? Welcome to another segment of Crypto World Radio. My name's King Wabi, and on behalf of Because Bitcoin, we want to welcome you all to, just another casual space on a Friday. We usually like to run our casual spaces at least once a week. Most of the time, it's on Fridays. So, what's going on, guys? Some pretty good price action. I'm joined by our friends Feel Pain and someone that I want to introduce to the community, Sisu. Um, Again, he's sort of like similar to Zuzi, where he works behind the scenes for an undisclosed institutional firm and really has some data points that you don't really see here every day on Twitter. So we're going to talk some shop about that, and also some general stuff about things like the next crypto mass adoption cycle. And by that, I know it sounds pretty tacky, pretty cliche, pretty boring if you ask me. But the fact of the matter is, every cycle, despite the atrocities that occur during the bear market, there's always a few eyes that are still maintained the market. You can be down 99%, but still be focused on the market. And I truly believe that even though 2022 was pretty awful in a lot of aspects, you still have 10x the attention in the market relative to the prior bear market. Relative to that bear market, how there was more attention on that bear market than the one in 2015. I mean, my bad, 2014. Excuse me. But other than that, what's going on, guys? What's up? How are you guys feeling today?
What up? What up?
What's up, bro?
Feeling pretty good. I think. How do you want to get started? What area do you want to touch on first?
So I guess we can start with more recent stuff. Like, what are your thoughts on this whole thing with Genesis and Gemini? Because it really seems like now what the SEC is doing is just what they did at the bottom of the last bear market, and all they did was just charge like these ICO tech startups, and those projects just paid their fines. Like Gemini and Genesis, they're not being prosecuted; they're just being fined, and all they have to do is pay a heavy chunk, and that's pretty much it. But like, what are your thoughts on the whole situation? And then after that, I guess we can go more towards a price action sort of standpoint, given that this week has given some pretty good volatility, and that's not really something that we've discussed here on the show a lot.
Yeah, so I think you're generally right. Like, they are. So the way they work, the SEC works, and all these agencies, like, they perfectly well know what's going on. They might seem aloof and they might seem late to the game, but all they're doing is just waiting until they have enough data points to move, and in the most opportune politically, you know, they want to time it so that they don't want to they want to do the least damage. Okay, and unfortunately, what happens is they wait until the damage happens and then they go in. So this is pretty unrelated to FTX. Actually, I think this is more related to if you recall, like maybe a year ago, or maybe even half a year ago, there are a lot of institutional firms trying to do some sort of like legacy finance firms trying to do some yield product. So this is them like taking the opportunity to kind of charge them on that. I think people get too excited on Twitter when they see bankruptcies. Like, we're not going to see huge cascades. We're not going to see liquidations out of this. Most of the time, it's just the assets transfer ownership. And if there are sales, they're going to have an OTC. So you're not really going to see like huge price action kind of like results out of this. Including the miners, right? Like when you see the miners go bankrupt, the lenders are just going to take over the assets. It's not like they're going to fire sale the Bitcoin because they know they're just going to get terrible pricing on it. So I think a lot of that's overblown, which is why I wasn't too concerned about the news about Genesis or Gemini.
Yeah, there's something to be said, man, where like you've had a couple of days to essentially retrace the entire FTX scandal. And for the first time, we're seeing positive flows from Bitcoin since December of 21, which, when you start having data dictate certain things and it's a confirmation of a trend, you have to respect it. It's sort of like the start of 2022, where you started seeing negative outflows and people cashing in all of their gains and just aggressively selling spot, and then bulls were just bulled up the entire way down, and a year later, and things still down over 90%. I mean, you can still scoop out some good deals at these levels. Not everything has rallied significantly up.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, what's been super interesting, I think, like with the firms I service, it's pretty, when you track AUC, it's been pretty much down only since November 2021. Flat in certain times, but pretty much just down, down, down. Like institutions, high net worth, just selling, selling, selling until the first week of January was the first time I saw somebody put in a massive, massive order, like in many, many zeros. And you got to think like the people buying in massive size now OTC are, maybe you can call them smart money or dumb money, but it's certainly not like retail buying up that much. So I think there might be some legitimacy to the price action we're seeing now. I wouldn't totally call it off as a trap.
yeah. There's a saying that goes. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it before, but it's called "buy low and sell high." I'm not sure if anyone here has ever heard of that secret super
Wabi
alpha.
spitting facts, bro.
It
How to
wasn't
make it 101.
it wasn't as if two guys were making spaces as the FTX sell-off was happening, and we were saying, man, might be a good time to start looking at narratives you want to play, right? That definitely didn't happen.
No, not at all.
There's a certain time to buy, and that's when things are low, and certain times to sell when price is high, and it just so happens that price is still low, and a little over a year ago price was high. So
Excellent
without
analysis, Wabi.
yes. There's some alpha in that, right? So
Yeah, if you could
I
put your
mean,
emotions aside, I think it's definitely true. Like,
I'm not sure if you guys look at this. I know me and Payne have talked about this, but if you look at certain DeFi protocols, specifically Maker and Aave, that's predominantly what I look at. And Zuzi, I mean, sorry, Sisu, sorry, man, you guys have very similar first names here on Twitter, but anyways, if you pay attention to DeFi protocols as far as like unique wallet activity, you'll see that on Maker, the top wallet, the second wallet, um, he actually put in some activity to borrow, and that position is now up by a significant amount. I believe he's in profit by close to $1 billion, and he's
Wait,
just
who, Wabi?
it's like if you take a look at the wallets in Maker that have like active positions,
Uh huh.
the top like the second top wallet, like the number two wallet in that whole ecosystem, put in a position earlier in the month, with a significant portion of his capital to add, and it's up by close to $1 billion, and he has not let that position go. He has not let that position go whatsoever. He's just holding it. And I know we have like 2 bill in liquidations if ETH goes under 720. Um, but at that point, dude, like if ETH were to go to that level, you would have to kind of factor in what's going to take us there. And I'm not sure what to think about when it comes to that, because I personally thought that like Genesis was going to go insolvent, but I mean, all that's happening right now is just in overhead for fines. So
no, well, I think they are insolvent. It's just a matter of like, will they, like, as some people here on Twitter think, okay, that means they're going to liquidate all of the BTC in Grayscale, and they're going to liquidate everything the DCG owns. That's just not how it works. So I think like it's pretty safe to rule a lot of that out and look elsewhere for catalysts.
and what would you think that would be? Like, what are some things that you think we should be paying attention to?
Well, the things I work on are more long term. So there are, honestly, to get back to where we want to be, like 2021 levels, I think what's going to get us there is pretty much broader access to normies. Right now, the access that they have is through crypto native companies. After they got burned on Celsius, BlockFi, FTX, like a lot of these guys who have money and a lot of, like, let's call it like 30 years old and plus, they don't want to touch this shit with like a 10-foot pole. And what's going to get them in to like really push us much higher than here? We could talk about 21K, 22K. It's not too interesting to me. I think what's interesting is like what's going to get like really push us into the next bull. And that is like there's a lot of tech firms that are working underground right now to integrate the ability to offer even the most just like basic cryptos to broad-based retail. So like 40-year-olds who don't care for the tech but see that they can buy Bitcoin right next to their deposit account. So a lot of that engineering work is happening right now. I don't know if we're going to see it materialize like this year, but I think like if like for the next big push, we'll have some weird catalysts like a money printing thing, a Mike Saylor, and the normies are going to wake up, and instead of just having Robinhood, they're going to be able to open up their banking apps and be like, oh shit, I can buy Bitcoin here. And that's going to push us next.
What I find crazy, dude, it's sort of a meme. Hopefully it makes you guys laugh. I really do. But do you guys remember Avi? The DeFi exploiter?
Avi, like the mango guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Avi.
this man took the time out of his day on Christmas. A grown man took the time out of his day on Christmas to clown our friend. He clowned our boy Nakamotolisk, and he said they still think we're getting another cycle. If you take a
I
look
find
at
that to be
any
totally
chart,
ridiculous.
Dude, yo,
Like
what I find
straight bottom.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're good, man.
I was just gonna say like the amount of money that's being invested right now into betting on the next cycle from institutions is in the tens, if not hundreds of billions around the world. And I think he and other people like Imp, for example, like they love exploiting protocols or shorting. It's just a pessimistic view to profit from the industry. But no, like I would say, like definitely not. I mean, from the things I'm seeing, like retail interest is still there, buying slowly, buying more now than maybe 6 months ago. People can't really feel it yet, but it'll feel like a light switch. Like, oh wow, like my grandpa's buying through his like community bank. Like, where did that come from? But that's what's kind of slowly happening right now.
Yeah, I also noticed with Twitter, there's a lot of engineering stuff going in the background, especially with the integration they're having with Mask Network, and essentially it's going to allow for users to you know share share things through a peer-to-peer basis, things like NFTs, things like cryptocurrency. So if we're on a space, right, I can click on your avatar, and then it can be like send assets, and then there's like a whole different UI, and a little wallet pops up, and I can send you an NFT here live on a space. Same thing with a tip jar. It's sort of like a super chat. And also, if you go on your search bar, if you've updated your Twitter app and you put in like the little cash sign with BTC or with ETH, you'll actually see a chart pop up. And even when it pertains to things like NFTs, now you have the option to click on someone's PFP, and then you'll see that it's fully like registered on the blockchain and how they own it and all that stuff. So I think there's something to be said about that, especially when you see Elon Musk's track record when it comes to working on fintech apps. And I think Twitter is slowly being rebranded as a sort of like Discord, and also something like a fintech app, where it's like you have social. It's like a social and a fintech app combined. But
Yeah, so
also, I was just going to finish off by saying there's also some beta testing from a few users that have shown me that you're going to be able to purchase Bitcoin and Ethereum and Doge, but those are just like testing, things that haven't been fully passed yet. And I think it should stay to things that are within the top 10. I don't think it should be like every single altcoin. You know what I mean? But
It won't be. It
yeah,
won't be. Like
yeah,
the way the integrations are working right now that I'm seeing that are actually in market, not just in testing, are like people again that they're super scared. They're either just doing like BTC and like barely ETH. In 21, everyone was pumped to go to like what's the shittiest shitcoin I could offer, like that's gonna rip for my customers. But after the crash, like people kind of came to their senses and aren't too interested in that stuff anymore. So long term, like yeah, in the next bull, I think you'll still have large companies trying to integrate. Like you remember AMC and all that trying to do Doge. So you'll still see stuff like that. But the way I kind of think about these integrations is, if you look at the tech industry right now, like SaaS as a whole is like pretty saturated. A lot of these companies are finding trouble to like grow in multiples and in user engagement. Like Netflix is a good example. So they're seeking ways to like, what's the next big thing that they could attract users and eyeballs so they can sell on advertisers or transaction fees or whatever. And crypto is kind of that perfect thing where like if you're in more in the entertainment side, you're absolutely going to see normies flock to things with NFTs the next cycle in a much bigger way than we saw. Like banks, fintechs, social media apps, like they're all going to integrate this stuff. And it's not just cliche, like, oh, last cycle, people would say that. I'm like seeing it in real time. Like they kind of view this as a way to protect themselves from any future startups, retain users and grow their user base and potentially like new revenue sources. So they're, even though they don't want to, like most of these boomers for integrating this tech, they kind of think they don't.
Caesar, you're rugging a bit, brother.
I was just saying, like, the way I think about it as a whole is a lot of these companies that are integrating the crypto tech that we're going to see push a lot of normies in, they feel like they don't have a choice. Many of them don't even want to integrate the tech, but they just feel like they are not competitive enough if they don't have it. So you're going to see like tons of normies flock, maybe not this year, but leading up to the next bull run in orders of magnitude more than we saw in the 21 for that reason.
Yeah, I think it all starts with things that we have at our disposal right now with things like Twitter. I kind of think like the attention has shifted from things like YouTube and Reddit and Discord all the way to things like Twitter, especially when you have something like Twitter Spaces where you can jump into a space where there's only 10 people, but you'll see a founder of some big project, right? And the interesting thing about Twitter Spaces as well is that, of course, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but when you run a Twitter space, your followers get to see not only if you run a space on your feed, but also if any person in your following is on a space as a listener or as a speaker. And I think that like it's essentially, I think of it like getting an email message constantly, sort of like a notification, and it's like if news breaks out, right, and you open your Twitter, it's sort of like mail. It's like hyperbolic parabola mail. Like imagine having a mailbox, right? And that mailbox sends posts right at your front desk. Because if you think about it, our front desk now isn't really a physical desk. It's more like it's in our hands. Like the way a lot of us work is through things like our cell phones, right? Of course, like people still have a workplace and all that stuff, but most of the work comes from the cell phone, and the cell phone has kind of replaced the desk, or like the laptop has replaced the desk for the common person. I'm not talking like institutions and all that. Of course, if you work in an institution working with over 9 figures, then you're not going to be doing most of your deals through a little telephone, right? You're going to have a desk, the whole setup, the whole nine. But for the average person, the way that they're getting their news now is slowly through these Twitter Spaces, right? Like people aren't really subscribing to like the New York Post. You know, when the news of Sam Bankman-Fried broke out, dude, everyone was hosting a space, and they all had hundreds, if not thousands, of people. In the case of like someone like Mario Nawfal, that had tens of thousands in their space. So I kind of think of it like, you know, if Elon sees that opportunity, and he knows that he's sort of like this meme god, you know, where he puts out a tweet of a dog and Dogecoin pumps 15%, you know, within a 2-minute candle, then of course he's going to use that to his own benefit and include some of the fintech applications that he's done in the past. And, you know, I'm not getting.
Not only that, but they're going to integrate, I think, horizontally. So you could easily swap between whatever you're doing in whatever, like an Apple app or whatever, like some other kind of entertainment app where, you know how if you open in Twitter, you can open up articles and browse within Twitter. I think he's just gonna like he's just gonna what's the word for it? Well, anyway, I think you get what I mean. Like, I agree with you in your thesis that he acquired Twitter largely for CT, and yeah, when we get that next run and he starts pushing Doge, it's gonna help a lot.
Yeah, a little bit like a knock on wood, especially with NFTs, is that there's a lot of narrative behind them. So, I mean, it's not a show here, but something like the Donald Trump NFTs, if you think about it, the second half of 2023, when these political campaigns get roaring, you're going to have probably like the most eyes on a politician that there's ever been on a politician in history. When it comes to someone like Donald Trump, no other politician has generated the amount of attention that he has. And everything that he does, it always goes parabolic when it comes to business endeavors. Of course, there are things like Trump stakes, but when it comes to things like NFTs, I mean, dude, man, like imagine.
Yeah, dude, AOC is gonna be pumping those NFTs, man, for sure. Like you saw her with the sweatshirts, the $60 sweatshirt. She's not gonna blink twice for a $3,000 NFT.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think that, you know, going towards like the election cycle, that's going to cause our echo bubble. I mean, the echo bubble, like, you know, from a technical standpoint, is actually starting, or at least it has started.
I was going to say, bro, we're technically in an echo bubble.
Like I see my friend Kayvon is in here, and one indicator that we use, and we mentioned it when Susie was on, was the super trend indicator. And anytime that's gone green in sort of like the higher time frames, like, you know, 4 hour, and then it goes into the daily, you have a pretty good risk to reward for some upside, especially when it turns green on the weekly. Of course, that hasn't happened yet. Just for some context for you guys, in the last bull run, the super trend on the weekly flipped green to a buy in July of 2020. So, I mean, you did miss a good portion of the initial run, but you weren't late to the party. You know, you were like smack dab in the middle of it.
Yo, bros, so you see the price?
Yeah, we're at 20K.
We're at
yeah, I'm not
a little higher than that, a little tiny bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't really get like excited at 20K. It's not really much.
It's 20K 400.
Come on, bro, you gotta respect the pump lobby.
Respect the pump, or the pump will not respect you.
Oh gosh, man, and this is being told to one of the more active bullish sentiment individuals. You know?
I was telling you last night, bro. I was like, look, if we were gonna roll over at 18, we would have rolled over. Like we had a whole day where we're in that area, and I was just like, man,
I'll
say it's got some legs.
I gotta drink some water here. Ooh.
I'll say this. Look. If there are pullbacks and buying those pullbacks work, right? Then, you know, that's confirmation. As far as like higher time frame stuff goes. But again, we'll see. And like for me personally, I feel a lot more comfortable like placing in like longer dated hold second half of 23, just for the fact that we would be under a year from the halving. And I think that's honestly like still a great position. But
So yeah, Wabi,
regard,
what are you looking for you to just mega long everything, go all in? It's just time based for you.
pretty much, yeah, dude. Yeah, pretty much. Because like, there's two scenarios that I'm looking at, and history has proved them to be true. If this ends up being like 2020, if you look at the 2020 chart, like we went to Valhalla for the first 2 months. Things were absolutely ripping. Even Atom was ripping. Link was ripping. ETH was ripping. And then, of course, like the equity market started selling off in February. So you can have a situation where, like, yeah, we rally, but we kind of put in a retest of the low end of Q1. Now, how that looks, I'm not sure. Or it might be like 2019, and we just continue to go to Valhalla up until June, hit 40K, and then go back to 18, 19K. Kind of how we got slashed in half after the summer of 2019. But as far as like, if this time is different and we're in a new paradigm where price action just acts on its own and doesn't go based off of prior price movements, then second half of 23, we're under a year out from the halving. Look for new
Bobby,
alts.
I think we
That's
might
predominantly that's
front run
predominant
against the having.
that's predominantly what I'm looking at. I'm looking at playing like more newer alts. So I don't want to mention the alt. I did mention it though on 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 these casual spaces that I do here and there, like late at night. But let's just say it's a new Ponzi that came out a few months ago, and Alameda may or may not have been involved in it, and it's been getting some traction given that it is a fresh new chart. So even if you like don't take any trades at the moment, there are going to be new alts that relatively still outperform any alts that are running up right now. And speaking of the echo bubble, I think the echo bubble has already happened for AI alts. Like you're having Fetch AI pump 5x. Other things like Ocean going crazy as well, and a lot of these like more smaller obscure alts might have ran really quickly, but the liquidity is so thin that like a small purchase order of like 5-6 ETH might pump the price by 20% or so. So you're always going to have like those anomalies within the echo bubble, but the echo bubble has already happened for some alts, in my opinion. Like FET, Fetch AI, is being listed on Binance Futures, and there's a saying that goes. That when developers talk price, about their token, and they get overly enthusiastic about being listed on any sort of like perpetuals exchange, it usually tops, at least locally, and pretty hard. And that's exactly what Fetch.ai did. I think it was a liquidity grab. I think with a lot of these, not a lot of these alts, but some of these alts are mainly just, using their treasury funds to pump up their token, kind of like for that last hoorah relative to what occurred in 2019, where you had things like EOS still pump pretty hard off of those December lows, but just don't come back. And if you guys notice in 2019, even though a lot of those Dino alts ran, it was the newer alts that were releasing in late Q1, early Q2 that outperformed. If you guys remember, Matic pulled off a 10x off the bat, and I just think like claiming a hoorah just because Phantom puts in a 70% candle, or AVAX puts in a 50% candle, is like a death blow to people who have been more vocally bearish. It's kind of stupid in my opinion. It's like being in a bull market, right? And price goes up by 5x, and then price dumps by 40%, and then you scream that it's a bear market, it's a bear market, it's a bear market, and then price retraces that entire downside moves and continues to go to Valhalla. Higher time frame, we are still bearish in my opinion. I will not get super hyper bullish until we put in at the very least a monthly candle above 25k, which we have not had in a very long time, since May. Which in crypto, I mean,
I agree, that would do it.
And in crypto, 8 months is a long time. Now you're telling me like, oh, you missed the bottom at 15k, right? If someone missed the bottom at 15k, but then they're buying in a trend confirmation, and you're declining them for that, then that's on you. And I believe that with crypto, you should focus on yourself and your own ROI, because if there's anything that this market can teach you, it's how to be humble. And especially in regards to, like, more of the Bitcoin maxi sort of thing, dude, if we go into an official uptrend, right, and BTC is at like 26, 27k, and people are laughing at you because you missed the bottom or whatever, Binance could easily release some obscure altcoin, same thing with KuCoin, some extreme, AI metaverse token, and
that 20 million market cap, baby,
and that thing can easily 10x, and you have caught up with the rest of these more hyper bullish individuals that have been bullish the entire way down. You have not missed a single thing. And,
but I will say, those of us who have been buying the last few months have big fat bags. So I'm not upset. It's like you could either do drugs or you could buy the Bitcoin bottom and watch it go up.
Yeah, with BTC, like it's apparent that, like, of course it's just been in a range, but with altcoins, and that's predominantly like what a lot of us play on here. I know it's called because Bitcoin, but a lot of us do play like strictly alts, if we're being honest here. But
I think.
Go ahead, Sisu. Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say, I think you're right about the AI coins being a little bit overplayed, but it's just sitting in my position, so it's just really hard not to get a little too happy when I see like a 9-figure order for BTC. It's like, at what point do you say that, okay, maybe the trend is reversing when something like that comes around?
I think as far as like echo bubbles topping, it's kind of hard to dictate when there's narratives, but things like perpetuals listings always marks the top, at least locally. It's kind of like just look at Bonk. Like, everybody was hyperbole, dude. Vestige was even like telling us to buy Bonk a day before the top, bro, saying Binance is gonna list them. Buy Bonk. Just buy Bonk. And it's like, dude, Bybit just listed them on perps. Bloomberg showed them the day after CNN. Like, you do have top signals when it pertains to little things like perps listings. I mean, just look at what happened to Near, dude. Near got listed on Upbit on Upbit spot. And usually when you have these alts get listed on Upbit in their spot market, they have these wild pumps and they just never reach there. Same thing happened with Algorand, and that was during a bull market, bro. Algorand got listed on Upbit during a bull market and topped and just never came back to that to that area. And of course, you do have other things as well that you can look at, like Binance Wicks. So if you guys want a little bit of hopium,
are you seeing the price right now?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Look at it.
Yeah, this is crazy.
What's going on?
Look at it, Wabi.
All right.
This almost feels too good. I don't like how
we're at 20,000 Biden bucks, Wabi. 28. Like, literally, as this space has been going, bro, it's been ripping.
If it's ready, it's ready. Yeah. And if the algo switches to bull, then I will be so happy. It's not there yet, but it's inching closer and closer.
Well,
For me, it was
we need
above
Air Max.
18, where I was like, okay,
We need Air
got some
Max.
legs.
We need Air
We do
Max.
need we do
Oh
need
my
Air Max
gosh, where
ASAP,
is
bro.
he?
It's like the bat signal. You
Where is
seen that
my
meme?
man, Hermes?
But anyways, I think at this point, this is where both sides get absolutely like destroyed. Buying green here at this point. But,
Okay,
but
so
Yeah.
my only complaint is that I didn't have a little bit more time. Like I have like this big check coming in a few in 2 weeks, and I'm almost 21. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Just got distracted by the price.
yeah, I am
Whoa,
not.
we're
Still,
actually ripping.
I'm still not. I'm
Oh
still.
my gosh. If we're talking market structure, we have just made a
Yeah,
hat.
we're officially like in an uptrend. Yeah, like we broke
Yo, look at
yeah
ETH.
we broke 18.3. We
Where's my
broke.
water? Oh no, I
Bro,
finished
ETH
it.
just straight
Not
trash.
gonna get excited, you guys.
Up
Stop.
two. Let's go, baby. Me and Up two have been
Nah,
chatting
bro,
all
Yo,
day.
yo,
you
yo.
gotta respect the pump, bro. You gotta respect the pump. Like at the end of the day, Wobby, it is what it is, bro.
I
Like
respect the pump.
come on, man.
I respect the
Look,
pump.
look at
Yes,
that.
yes.
Look at that 15-minute on ETH,
Look,
bro. Are you
dude, stop.
serious? Stop it.
Okay, all right, dude. You're gonna force me
You
to go
can't
into
downplay.
Aave and gamble.
You can't downplay the Valhalla structure, bro.
Yo, yo, yo.
It's
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I understand. What's going on, Honeycomb? What are your thoughts,
How come none
brother?
of you along last month when I told you to long? I told everybody along last month and nobody listened. Not everyone's heated.
He did.
Hands up, dude. Hands up.
Bro,
But
The
I don't
one, the
even
one that I'm waiting
I don't
for,
know who Honey is, but I just followed him.
the one trade I'm waiting
yeah,
for is the SPY to 430. Once SPY gets to 430, I'm shorting the fuck out of this market, and we're gonna get a final capitulation. And I guarantee you, how many people do you have on this space on average, Bobby?
today's more of a community space, but usually there can be anywhere from like when it comes to Crypto World Radio, there can be anywhere from like 120 upwards to like 300 plus. It's not like Market Talk where we have like hundreds of people. I do more of like interview style spaces, not really like these kind of spaces like I used to do. But like when it comes to talking price, I've been more neutral. Like I've been more leaning bullish, but also being cautious. Like I'm not here calling for 10K, 9K, 8K. Um, and I do have posts that like dictate that sentiment. I'm just not extremely hyperbole. And like I guess that animal spirit given to what occurred given to what occurred to Luna back in like May. That event just completely destroyed any sort of emotional attachment I have to price anymore. But
Well, give it till second week of February, and you're gonna have consistently 50 people here. Wipe
I
out
mean,
the fuck
I mean,
out of most of you guys. I'm telling you. Like, give it. I'm telling you, give it to like middle of February, and this shit is done.
I will say that the Dow Jones is the leader of all equity markets, and it is very happy right now. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, but I wouldn't follow the Dow honestly. Don't even look at that shit, bro. I tell you, like literally, all you have to do is just watch the SPX. I watch futures. If you literally just watch futures, it'll give you the futures have been the key to everything. Well, I've been
I
saying
mean,
this since fucking June. BNB has been the fucking key to the whole thing, but nobody listens, so that's okay. So you know what? Everybody just watch the SPX futures. That's all you gotta do, and I'll tell you everything you need to know.
yeah, with BNB, man, that was kind of ridiculous. People were really doing multi-week campaigns on CZ. And it's kind of odd because I do believe that the entity known as Binance, that's what it is, an entity, has contributed a lot to the price floor on Bitcoin. And I truly believe that if Binance were to go under, we're going back to COVID lows. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
No, I think we do that ass. Like I honestly think we get to COVID lows. Like I'm talking about like in a couple weeks. Like I like this party's about to be over like really really fast, and I hope you guys are
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yeah,
Like
that's fine, man.
you guys are super euphoric now, which is cool. Like it's cool to be euphoric. It's cool to be in green. But I'm letting you know right now, we are literally like 3 or 4 weeks away from like complete death. So manage
That,
your money.
that's fine, man. I like to get a variety of perspectives. I've been very outspoken to where I stand. The animal spirits of this market no longer play an effect on me. Especially when you grow attached to an ecosystem and then it just completely dies off. You look at the market a lot more in a more stoic fashion, and you just look at it as a trade, And if you want to be stoic, there are a lot of things that you have to look at, and there are some things that we can look at that have occurred in the past, right? Like if you look at the weekly candle for Bitcoin and you compare it, when was the last time in a bear market where Bitcoin, goes up 20% in a week? You can look at April of 2019, where, excuse me, where we broke out of 5K, and then we put in, I believe it was like a 180% candle over the next 2 months. Now, I'm not saying we're going to put that kind of move, but like we are in an uptrend. Now it's just a matter of like, is buying the dip gonna be useful, and I would not recommend anyone to buy in the green, and that's why, like, me personally, I'm not really feeling super 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 excited. um so that's what I have to say about that.
Sounds like someone with no spot.
You will admit, though, being a bull is much more fun than being a bear.
So fun.
Yeah,
Yell it from the rooftops. I'm excited. We haven't gotten the official Algo Cross yet. I would not mind a pullback. Honestly, I need to top off.
yeah, like it does look like near a top, to be honest, but um see, we have Vestige up here. I'll bring him up as well. Oh shit, my bad. Oh, by the way, for the listeners here, feel free to come up and talk some shop, talk price, give your statements, ask some questions. Today's more of a community space, not really anything structured or anything like that. So if you go ahead and you click that request button, I'll bring you up to speak. But I completely forgot to lay down the rules, guys. Excuse me for that. Let's try to keep cursing down to a minimum, please. And no talking over one another. I have a migraine today. I'm not really like super out there at the moment, but I will admit it is good to see green. Um, if there's anything that this has taught us, is that there is still volatility and juice in the market. And as long as we still see, this sort of price action, it can dictate that crypto is not dead. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And when the Federal Reserve goes back to easing and rates are near zero again, this market will continue to be an outperformer uh, in both the upside and the downside. When rates are high and there's quantitative tightening, there's a greater probability of downside, and same thing vice versa. And that's what history has shown us. So ultimately, I still think second half of 2023 will offer like way more volatility to the upside. And I'm talking like, Bitcoin having multiple days like this where it's up over 10%. I want to see things like up 15%, up 20%, things that are indicative of actual like macro higher time frame bull market where I don't have to stare at a chart. If you guys want to know something that this market has proved, is that easy mode favors favors the common user, buying spot and walking away, not looking at charts, not looking at a bunch of indicators. Easy mode is buying spot and that's it. That is it. The easiest thing you could have done last cycle is buy Matic, buy Doge, buy Solana, buy Luna, buy ETH, and just not look at anything except Elon Musk going to SNL or looking at the Major League Baseball and the NFL and the NBA have cryptocurrency exchanges logos all over their stadiums and courts, right? So, what's up, Prestige? How you doing today, brother? Am I rugging? Can you guys hear me?
No, I can hear you, bro.
Okay. I think there's a little bit of a delay effect in the voice thing for Vestige. So,
sorry, bro. I was in another thing.
okay, that's fine. I'll probably run the space for like another 20 minutes or so, and then like I'll probably start to wrap up. But Sisu, what are some things that you don't want to see as far as like things in the background? What are some things that
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing that could happen would be, and this is something that we're waiting for, is like hard regulatory action against supposed unregistered securities for the exchanges. I think if that came out, it would just crush the market, at least temporarily. I know like a lot of people think it's just FUD. I think that one piece is actually not FUD, but it really, like, you'd be surprised how fragmented all these federal agencies are, and you need like complete alignment for something like this to happen. Especially now, it'll be harder with the House being controlled with the Republicans, but I think eventually something like that will happen. And I honestly expected it to happen sometime in Q1 or Q2 of this year after the FTX debacle, but it seems like they have bigger fish to fry. So other than that, I feel like I don't really see any big bearish catalysts. Like, I know some people like to macro LARP and say, oh, when they start cutting rates, then then markets go down. Like, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But I'll say that is the one big thing that I'm worried about, is them coming out and putting like hard stops on Coinbase and the U.S. exchanges to delist a lot of these unregistered securities.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing that has to happen, to be honest. Well, not the last thing that has to happen, but something that we haven't seen at full capacity, and that happened, of course, during the last bear market. But I don't think it's necessarily going to, impact price a lot. But to your point about like cutting rates, that is something that I'm looking at. And again, it's from a cautionary perspective. Like if I want to say something right now that I can look back on, second half of 2023. So, okay, year to date, Bitcoin is up. Like, what is it paying? Like 20%, roughly 20% year to date.
What, year to date?
Yeah, year to date for Bitcoin. If any of you guys can check that for me.
I don't think it's up.
No, year to date we're up like 20%, I believe. Because I think the yearly open was like, I think it was like 16.8, something along those lines.
I was thinking, from January 1st.
Yeah.
It's no, I was thinking from last year to now.
No,
it's up 31%.
Holy shit! Fuck me. 31%.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm sorry, guys.
Dude, you gotta respect the fucking pump, Bobby. Come on.
Sorry. Oh God.
Look, man, I've been right here with you banging the drum, but you gotta sit here and you have to acknowledge what is happening, man. I'm not trying to get euphoric at the local top either, but because I do think that we are, if we are going to roll over, it's going to be very soon, like within the next day, like couple days, probably, to be honest. But
30%.
I mean, come on, that's what I'm saying, bro. 30%.
Yeah,
Respect the pump.
Gotta respect the pump, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
oh God.
Where's Vestige at?
He was all Wabi's all like, look, man, I'm not trying to get all happy here.
Come
I'm not trying to get all happy.
Come
on, man.
on.
That doesn't put a shit-eating grin on your face.
You guys are killing me. You guys killing me.
I love all of you.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I guess that's I guess there's something to be said about that. Like, even when there's someone like me that's surprised, golly, bro. Here I thought like we were only up like 20% year to date. But again, where I was getting at, okay, so we're up 30% year to date. And Naka is having a space right now where there's close to 1,000 people, and every single Bitcoin maxi is up there, probably like bulled up to the gills, thinking we're going to hit 50K by the end of Q1. I just want that to be like recorded on here, just in case, like, you know, second half of 2023, we're back at the same prices. That to me would be pretty ironic. 6 months later, and we're still at 20K, early 20s.
Bro, we're coming back down, man. Everyone's too euphoric right now. I can't wait to short on everyone from here.
Yeah,
there he is.
My
So many bag holders right here, bag holding. I have so many people messaging me right now about what they're gonna do with their money and how rich they're gonna be. Everyone is messaging me right now, being like, "Oh, bro, I'm up so good." Like, I can't wait to dump on everyone in short here.
yeah, I'm really cautious, man. I'm really cautious. Really cautious.
Wait, hold up. Dump what? Did you long?
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Spot long bags.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, my buddy's been he was trying to tell everybody to short since like 17K, and he won't talk to me right now at all. It's pretty funny.
Wabi, I did want to ask you something. I saw you were hanging around NFT spaces. Are you trying to?
Yeah.
Like, what's your goal in there?
So with that,
He's expanding his horizons.
Yeah. So with that's where my narrative for the next cycle comes in, which is essentially how NFTs are going to be. Again, not every NFT, but a good portion of NFTs that are going to come out are going to act exactly like the 2017 altcoins, where they're all going to do like 1,000x, hundreds of X's. Like, if you look at, I mean, I haven't looked at the floor recently, but with Pudgy Penguins, the market cap was about 10 million. And what's not to say that thing can hit 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion in market cap 2-3 years from now. And you're telling me that, like, oh, I should dollar cost average into a DeFi altcoin on KuCoin that's down 98%. Are you being serious right now, bro? There's a whole chart history there of devs and insiders just continuously dumping on you. People are not going to get as excited to accumulate these altcoins down 99% and ride them back to all-time high. That's never happened. The only case where that has happened are things like, you know, what I call anomalies, like Cardano, and of course Telcoin, that, you know, had these extreme drawdowns, but still had, you know, crazy communities that were still active and building within the bear market. And that's what I'm seeing with the NFT community. You see Pudgy Penguins, dude, those spaces run crazy. The Sappy Seals, those boys run hard. Those boys run hard. Dude, the founder, Wob, I'm trying to get him on a show. Dude, that boy is on Hedera Hashgraph spaces, Algorand spaces, Cardano spaces, AVAX spaces. Show me a dev that has a product with some sort of utility that is expanding his community by going out and doing outreach, dude. This is a one-man machine.
Wabi's looking for an art collecting girlfriend so they can have a museum as art collectors.
But like where I'm getting at is like, you know, when you implement like that social, like, capital observation of people going onto Twitter, being exposed to NFTs and all that stuff, they're going to be going into things like NFTs before they go into DeFi, right? I think when we truly flip like higher time frame bullish, you're still going to have time. You're still going to have time. Like, price is not going to go like straight to 40, 50K. That's just not how markets work. They just don't. Excuse me.
Yeah, someone put it really well to me where buying an NFT, at least in a good project, it's almost like a call option on ETH or Sol or whatever, where like you could have ETH 10x and then you could have the floor of the NFT 10x, and there's your 100x. Like, that's actually much easier to find that 100x right there, versus an actual 100x altcoin where you have to like sift through so much shit to find it.
100%, bro.
People are really out here today being like mean, dog. Like, geez, dude, after a year where altcoins go down 90% and Bitcoin, puts in a 70% year-to-date candle, like, people just want to destroy anyone that's been cautious. Like, dog, risk management is the reason why, like, some of us are still here. You guys need to be humble.
Bobby, the people that are getting too cocky right now and being mean like that, they're just going to get absolutely fucking wrecked here, man. They're just overly cocky right now and treating people like shit just because they got a little bit of money in their portfolio again, and like things are moving up and they're starting to FOMO and the mentality is like freaking people out. Like you said, man, being like financially like smart and trying to like, position yourself both ways in case something bad happens. You have to, understand that. And I think a lot of people right now are overly euphoric right now, and as you said, they're starting to be mean to people and whatnot, and it's like, we're like just getting some action right now. It's dope. Everyone's bags are coming up. Like, be cautious right here because it's not going to be up only. I'll tell you that for a fact.
But anyways, outside of that, that's kind of like, Caesar, are you still a speaker, or is that like?
Yeah, no, I'm still up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with NFTs, like, that's kind of why I've been going into more of these NFT spaces and kind of seeing like what kind of narrative I can see, and it's sort of like with Solana, right? The biggest use case for Solana right now isn't necessarily like as a layer one, but more of like a community chain. And if you look at things of what had occurred to things like Bonk, it's sort of having like this Binance Smart Chain moment where it's not too crazy to say that, the next 2 years, Solana might go to like $100. I'm not going to be hyperbole and say all-time high because I am aware of the overhead risk of those tokens, like, what FTX holds, what Kyle Samani holds and Multicoin, and all those things. I understand there's some like risk to holding like those kind of bags. But again, the narratives are forming as far as that goes. And again, I'm taking this from like a conservative and stoic approach. I want to remind everybody that, like, something like Terra was truly the only project building in the space that like got me super enthusiastic about what the space can do for the economy and like real world applications and all that stuff. And then when that got unfolded and the industry like the industry attacked Terra head on and completely destroyed what they had going on, it really made me look at the market strictly from a trade perspective. But I still recognize that like it could add value to things like, Web3 jobs, like projects that are funded with VC money. And you have little things like Binance that can pop up, like little exchanges or DeFi protocols like Aave that are like, they run on revenue streams, things like Uniswap or Lux, the things going on in Cosmos, where like, a lot of those projects, they get incubated sometimes by like community pools, even though they might have like some private VC funding, they do get funding from more of like community based stuff. And that's all fine and dandy, but like that's just been me, dude. That that's sort of where I stand. But to further elaborate on your point, Sisu, I'm also seeing like, what projects I should be looking at with a 2 to 3 year time horizon. Because ultimately, I think the next top for the bull market is going to coincide with Jerome Powell finishing his term. So end of 2025, all the way to like Q2 of 2026. That's when ultimately I think the next Pico top of the next cycle comes in around that time frame. And yeah, so I've found things like sappy seals, things like that, like I had mentioned, that have me enthusiastic about them, but not like super crazy. And I get to know like the people within them, and definitely what I can say about like the NFT community versus like the more crypto side of things, is that they function off of extremes. So they're either like super wag me, let's effing go, or they're super conservative. They're super conservative in the sense that like you would think that you're speaking to someone that like is super into DeFi, right? Like there's just one guy from the Utes and D Gods community, and that's a collection from Frank D Gods. He was like a big Solana guy and then moved over to Matic.
Yay!
Yeah. Frank, he's something. But there's just one guy in that community. His name is ZK, and like when you speak to someone like that, he speaks very articulately in his analysis, and really composed and really like friendly and all that stuff, and welcoming. And you can talk about anything crypto and DeFi, and it's a lot more welcoming than say like a random Twitter space where it's like a lot of elitism, where it's like they're either super hyper bull or super hyper bear. And if you don't agree with their bias, they just like, they don't say the nicest things to you. Like they curse at you, or like they really demean you. They make you look stupid. They talk to you like you're a child. And I'm not really about that. I'm all about like just conservative approaches and applying it just from a trade perspective. Number go up, number go down, number go sideways. That's what makes a market, right? But same thing to a bull market. When there's crazy dips, the trend is your friend. And I think if you're like super euphoric, by all means enjoy it, but definitely don't let it like consume you, because pullbacks do happen, and pullbacks can destroy faith. But if we go to 22, 23, 25K, by all means, like I will still feel the same. And like I said, I won't get like super super hyper bullish until like we start getting above like 30K, 40K, and I start seeing like a lot of these newer altcoins come out into the market, because that is predominantly what I will be doing personally, just playing more of the newer alts. So I hope that answers your question, man. And just to get like a broader sense of sentiment across other communities, so things like that. So that's kind of like a long-winded take.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I totally thought the NFT thing was going to pass. I thought it was all going to go to zero. I didn't really get it. Like, I only bought my first NFT like 2 days ago. But, dude, when you look at like how damaged the Soul community felt after the FTX thing, and then Klanosaurs ripped like a just pure insanity just through community. I don't know. I'm a little bit too euphoric right now, but I feel like I'm super optimistic for that space, and almost pivoting a lot of my attention to there. I think I'm going to spend more time looking into it.
Amen, bro. I think NFTs are easier to trade, and I've been saying that for months. But it's like you just don't fade. If you don't fade Colts, then you'll probably like do pretty well. Like anything that you see that has that kind of energy, like the Klanosaurs or the Sappy Seals or whatever it is, like you just hold your nose and buy, like because they don't really like the macro doesn't matter with NFTs. Like like people just ate. Like,
dude, I was.
It's a very left curve thing to track.
Exactly.
I like it. Dude, I went into one of the God hates NFT spaces a few hours before CPI, and I asked the hosts, "Are you guys excited about CPI?" You want to know what his answer was? He said, "What is that?"
What's CPI? I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Bro, they don't give a fuck about CPI. They just want to.
Yeah. But
Just
again,
want to see that their floor went up, bro.
but again, dude, like for the average user, right? Payne, one thing that me and you have said is that, like, you know, a yearly open where Bitcoin is down well over 70%, right? 18 months down the road, you will be up in the triple digits. That's what history has shown us, right?
Yeah.
And for the average user, I mean, you're not going to be looked at as stupid if you bought anywhere below the previous all-time high. So, I will say this though: if we close the week above 20K, that's just confirmation of more continuation. At that point, I don't think we've put in a weekly above 20K in a while. Dude. And yeah, it's pretty cool to see volatility, dude. I don't think it's really anything to go crazy over though. That's where it really like starts to get dangerous, to be honest.
What price do we need to get at to get our karaoke spaces back?
I mean, I did one this morning with Naka. I did a karaoke space. Yeah. Like, as a matter of fact, I even mentioned our favorite meme,
Peak Euphoria.
Yeah, I mentioned our favorite meme, Ogre Chain, and that was late December, and I even put out a little bit of a hopium tweet with Solana, saying how it might be a good echo bubble play. And Naka was here saying, "Oh, we're not going to get an echo bubble and all those things," and coming out with like 1,000 different indicators as to why, like, you shouldn't even be looking at the market at the moment. And I think that's cope, to be honest, because like if we're looking at price with no bias, then this is an echo bubble going on right now, and it's very interesting to see, man. I like it. I really do. Because it shows that there's still liquidity in the market, and it's not just like a decrease in what the industry is known for. So I mean, we would all be talking differently if price was still reacting as if we were still in that October range where we just barely move $100, $200, and when you have that, you never know where price is going to go. It's either going to go down by an extreme amount or up by an extreme amount. And if it wasn't for FTX, I think like our CEO Max said, we would probably be trading more in the upper 20s. And I don't think any amount of TA would show black swans happening, because then you're telling me that all of these smart technical analyst people would have predicted the COVID crash, and that's just not the way things work around here. They just don't. So TA is okay, but it's just something else in a toolbox, dude. If we want to talk from a TA standpoint, then golly, bro, golly. Again, I don't want to sound repetitive, but like Terra had everything going for it at $120. That thing looked like it wanted to hit 170, 180. So these sort of black swan events could happen. And definitely the developments, like Cece was saying, as far as like regulatory actions and all that stuff, could impact price. So it's just a matter of like your risk tolerance. Do you want to go like over 50% long here? Do you want to like just scalp a bit here and there for some upside? If you want to go more of a long only perspective, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have another bullish catalyst for you. I just remembered one of the biggest opportunities for institutions right now, and it's still like there's some regulatory stuff to figure out how to get it done, but everybody wants to issue their own stable coins. So they don't want to just be like all these legacy institutions, the banks on Wall Street, because there's just so much money. And if you just hold billions of dollars, put it in treasury, get a couple of percent, it's like super profitable. So, the thing that they're waiting for is, and this I think will be the first piece of legislation to be passed, an agreement on like which kind of institution would be able to issue the stable coins. How are they going to hold it? Is it going to be separated from exchanges? Like all that information. But once that's figured out, we'll have like tons of liquidity pump into that, and it's going to leak into, these altcoins, obviously, eventually. So I think that's probably maybe like 12 months away, I would estimate.
I think also from a data-driven perspective, something that a friend of the show put out, his name's Matt. I've had him on as a guest before, and he put out a tweet a few days ago, and my bad, not a few days ago, I'm sorry, a few hours before CPI, and he had mentioned how 2022 bears are falling into the same mistake that 2021 bulls were, and they're not letting the data dictate, right? So, like, what he means by that is, the 2021 bulls going into 2022, they were ignoring things like CPI, they were ignoring things like rate hikes, and price action foretold what would happen, right? And now we're sort of seeing, I guess, of course, a mean reversionary play. CPI is officially in a macro downtrend, and I'm of the camp. I've been on record to say that I'm of the camp that I think by second half of 2023, I think we'll be back at 2% CPI, 3% CPI. I think we'll start seeing negative month over month numbers, specifically in core, going towards the summertime. But that's a discussion for another time. I don't really have the energy that I used to going into other spaces and talking macro. I've kind of just been doing my own thing, to be honest, when it pertains to that, keeping a lot of those broader thoughts to myself and talking more to like the inner circle community at Because Bitcoin when it comes to that. But really at this point, again, like when it comes to crypto, altcoins are still down like 90+%. So there's still no reason to be like, my bad. Altcoins are down 90%, and there's no reason to be like continuously bearish on them, because you do have these mean reversionary plays, and some altcoins will just not budge, even if Bitcoin goes on to make like a lower low. If you look at something like, Stargate, STG, right? Alameda was their largest holder, and even after FTX and Alameda imploded, it would simply not break 30 cents. It had everything going for it to make a lower low, right? And even Solana went on to make a lower low, but STG would simply not break. And why? Because it's a lower cap. It's on the second page of CoinGecko, right? Or CoinMarketCap, whatever it is that you use. And there's simply no reason to try to seek out these shorts for some of these like lower play tokens. And even with Ethereum, right, down over 75-80%, you want to go ahead and short that. Like a lot of that move has already been drawn down. So like I've said since November, like, yes, you want to be bullish, but you also want to be cautious. Like, and by cautious, I mean, like, if you purchase, you can't be shocked at a 30-40% drawdown. And you also can't be shocked where price simply doesn't, perform relative to the broader market, and, doesn't hit an all-time high in the next 2 to 3 quarters. Like, just because you buy something that's 90%, 80% down doesn't mean that it's going to hit an all-time high within a year. It just doesn't work that way. So that's why, like, I've been more of the camp of being conservative with your expectations, and be like more stoic. I don't I don't want to force that upon anybody, but like that has helped me being more like in a stoic mindset when it pertains to markets like cryptocurrency that are extremely volatile. And I think
Wabi made me miss the bottom because I was stoic.
Jeez, bro, you really know how to make me laugh, bro. Yeah. See, if I didn't have this migraine, bro, I would be more be more
lively.
Yeah.
You're good, bro.
Yeah, maybe on Monday or Tuesday or something, or probably like I don't know, Sunday or something. It's probably because I'm fasted as well. I decided to fast today.
Did a little fast.
Yeah, I haven't fasted in a while. Fasting is healthy.
It's good for you. I have hella energy whenever I fast.
Yeah,
for
dude.
like a day and a half.
Yeah.
What's the longest you guys have ever fasted?
36 hours.
Yeah, same. Like 2.5 days.
But that's only like
It
once
wasn't
a
even
week.
by choice though.
Yeah, I went like 2 days.
That's it, guys. I did a 21-day fast, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, longest I've done was 14 days, and I felt like, you can't even sleep.
14 days. That's terrible, bro. Like, Jesus.
Yo, the aftermath is also terrible, so I don't recommend.
You probably can't even get out of bed, huh?
No, dude, you just gorge like a beast.
Yes, you do.
You erase all the gains. I was asking because, Wabi, I'm curious if you're still training for those strongman competitions. Is that why you're fasting?
No, it's just to clean my digestive system, dude. Because like, if you're constantly, eat, eventually like food won't really have a taste to it, if that makes sense. And like you'll just run through it, like
bro. If you want to feel euphoria, fast for 7 days and eat watermelon. You'll feel like you're a god.
I can't do that. I can't pull off I can't pull off an SBF, bro. That guy, like, it looked like he had a diet of like Snickers bars and bread. Like, that's it, bro. Like Snickers bars and bread. that droopy like weak look, bro. Yeah. So definitely some.
Yeah, that guy was only eating cucumbers on fucking camera, bro. That guy was eating literally like popcorn, fucking Cheetos, and fucking like cheese puffs, and fucking Chicago mix, and fucking Snickers bars and bread, and that was it, bro. Nothing else, bro. And like drinking like milk.
Yeah. So I guess more to like, to start wrapping up the space, since we've already crossed a little bit over that hour mark. Sisu, what would make you, like, I guess, higher time frame, more like higher time frame bullish, like from a monthly perspective? Because usually like there are things like, monthly divergences that can kind of confirm that as well, outside of like more of the inflow stuff. So let's not go into the technicals, but like, as far as like what you're seeing, what are some things that you want to see to start flipping more like higher time frame bullish? And by higher time frame, I mean truly from a perspective of playing at easy mode that crypto's known for, where it's just you buy your spot bags and you sell when it's high, and then when people are euphoric, you simply walk away from the industry for a year. What are some?
Yeah, I think I'd say two things on that. I think like the level that I'm looking for is if we get solid closes above 30K, like that's pretty much, I think, where I feel a lot of retail will just start piling in again, and you could just kind of safely just buy spot. But the other thing I look at is, just given my position, I take a look at what the institutions are doing. When I see heavy buying, like I haven't seen in over a year, all of a sudden seeing some interest there, like it's telling me that retail will probably follow soon after. But when people buy crazy amounts over, OTC, I think CT overestimates how much price action is being affected short term, because when you do these OTC buys, you actually don't see that price being moved. Like, the price is picked off at the margins by retail, not by institutions. And they go into various like global liquidity pools, so it's not like you're really seeing the market affected by these massive buys. However, it does take the supply down, and then eventually the retail buyers come in. So I kind of look at like that delayed effect, like, okay, when are the institutional buyers buying in size, and then as soon as I start seeing the retail kind of pick up, then I feel like, okay, then the price is going to move up.
Good points, man. Good points. It's great having you on here, man. You're an individual that I've spoken with over the last year, and I always appreciate more of like the stealth accounts that have a view of what goes on in the back doors of the industry. So guys like you and Zuzi, absolute phenomenal information.
Appreciate it, man. Love your spaces, bro. Loved it since day one, so happy to be on.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, man. Thank you. I I try to do my best, but I understand that sometimes we do have more of like the animal spirits. More of the animal spirits come on. So
no, those are the better spaces, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see like right now on my timeline, like there are a few people that follow me or I follow them, and they're on these spaces called like Melt Up, SPX, the 7,000, all that stuff. So, congrats to the Bulls, bro. Congrats to like the all in since 50K, 40K, 35K all in. 30K is generational.
They were eventually going to be right.
They were eventually going to have a mean reversion, no doubt, bro. Like if you take a look at coin stock, like I was over in our friend Sefi's space. I believe on the 3rd of January, I was on his space and I was at the beach, and he just had a regular space that said, what cryptos and stocks do you value? Something along those lines. And I had mentioned Coinbase stock because their stock was pretty much like, dude, 93% down from all-time high.
Yeah, it was like in the 30s, right?
Dude, and on top of that, Tesla was selling like mark down, limit down, day after day after day. And same thing with Coinbase stock, dude. So, at that time, Coinbase had a fully, diluted valuation of about like 8 billion or just shy of 8 billion. And I was looking at Coin Market Cap and I thought, dude, Coinbase stock is valued less than the top 20. Like AVAX has a bigger valuation. What's going on here, right? And it's one of the stocks that I had mentioned. And I was kind of playing this game theory about, second half of 2023, what are the odds that like, some longer dated call options on Coinbase stock with an expiry of say June, July of 2024 would be a pretty nice play, right? Because you have a lot of narratives that are shaping up for 2024, right? Like lower rates, no more quantitative tightening, the broader economy, improving. Like for myself, I like to be more of an optimist. I don't like being all doom and gloom. I don't want Europe to freeze. I don't want, China to blow up. I don't want any of these like black swans to happen because that's why they're called black swans, right? I'm of the opinion that, pain, like our associate Adonis has been saying for months, Joe Biden is killing it. And if he's saying that the economy is strong as hell, you go outside, you go to a mall right now, it is strong. You see people shop, you see people happy, you see now hiring signs everywhere. People are hiring everywhere you go. Like if I don't see a slowdown in Miami, right? If I don't see, construction still going on, if I don't see like things being built out, I'm just not going to get like super doomerish. I'm just not. And I'm taking it from a perspective of letting the incoming data dictate, So of course, if we have things like CPI come in hot, and then we have to go to a 6% Fed funds rate, then by all means we're probably going to hit new lows, right? But getting overly emotional in these things, when it pertains to things like crypto, it burns you out. It burns you out, and that's why many people just decide to leave. And I think that's a mistake. I think this is a time that you don't want to ignore the industry, especially with ongoing developments and things of that nature. So yeah, man, I think we'll start wrapping up here. If anyone wants to come up for some last thoughts or statements or questions, feel free to go ahead. But just so you guys know, a replay of the space will be going on up on our YouTube in 5 to 10 minutes. I want to thank you all for coming up on this community space. If you enjoy spaces like this, feel free to follow us here on Twitter at Because Bitcoin. My name's King Wabi, and I host these spaces Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Although sometimes we do have some time differences whenever we do have guests from a different time zone. So I want you guys to be mindful of that, and that's why I encourage you all to turn on bell notifications so that you can have consistent updates to when these spaces go on. And we also have Market Talk at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time with Carter that goes over more broader things, macroeconomics, and more U.S. equities style of content. And we also have a Market Check with William and Tommy, our prop traders, as well as our CEO Max. And that's more of a news-based and TA style type of content. So, you'll be informed of what's gone on in the market, over the last 24 hours, and of course things regarding to the cryptocurrency market, and also some little TA stuff, which is always fun to watch, right? So feel free to check out our YouTube channel when it pertains to that, and subscribe and turn on bell notifications so that in case you do miss these spaces, you could catch a replay of those. And feel free to leave some feedback into the comment section. I always appreciate that, good or bad. By all means, just go for it. Always looking to expand the quality of content here. And also join our Discord. It's up on the Nest. It's up on the Nest above, and also in our Because Bitcoin bio here on Twitter. So I want to thank Sisu for coming on, man. It was great having you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on and introducing yourself to the community. And thank you to our other speakers, Vestige, Afro, Widow, and also Payne. I see he's there as a listener. Thank you guys again. We'll be back on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be having a good guy biker, someone that's well known in the Bitcoin community, as our special guest. And then on Tuesday, hold on, see, Payne wants to come up here. And then on Tuesday, we will be having Dr. Jeff Ross, and he's the founder of Velshire Capital, which is an equity-style firm, capital management stuff, and he'll be our special guest on Tuesday, and that space is going to be a bit earlier. That one's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so I want to give you guys a heads up when it pertains to that. And some very exciting things happening here on the media side of things here at Because Bitcoin when it pertains to the crypto world radio side of stuff. Starting in mid-February, there will be an exciting addition to these spaces where you guys will have sort of like, I don't want to call it like, oh, I want you to have this project on and immediately like they'll be on, but there will be a process where it'll be a lot easier for certain people to come on here when it comes to more of the developer side of things. So look forward to that over the next month or two. So thank you guys again. Payne, did you want to give any departing words?
No, I got a phone call at the last minute. I was just popping back in.
Okay. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. Thank you all once more. Take care. Have a blessed weekend, and God bless you.
Take care, brother.
Quack, buddy. Later.
The trading current is just math. It's just math. It has a 95.45% hit rate when we deviate outside of CP2 and CN2. All you had to do is recognize that 95% of the time when we get over here, under this blue line, we get some sort of mean reversion. So let's just assume you long right here. 95 out of 100 times, when I buy this, I'm going to get some sort of bounce. It's just math. Look what would have happened as we move up. Look at the bounce that came after. And now look where we are. If you had just blindly followed the current, you take all emotions out of it, and you say, I'm going to trust the statisticians, you would have bought Dow Jones somewhere down here under 30,000. You know, depending on how you want to measure it from absolute top to bottom, 20% move. We also have multi-time frame alerts. You don't even have to be at your computer on TradingView. You can ping your phone. Now, the current has some really awesome features, and I would urge you guys to join our Discord to get access to it. We give it away for free as a tool to the community. It's just math. There's really no need to overcomplicate things, not even in the slightest.